Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and this is an interlude in the CBT therapy series because I am not doing CBT therapy. Uh, I'm not doing a new episode. I'm not doing a new chapter because I'm still on the same chapter as last week because this exposure therapy is hard. It's hard. Um, I still am a little bit pink in the cheeks because today I tried running, which is something I haven't done since high school. So that's 10 years ago, pretty much, approximately. And yeah, so I haven't willingly gone outside of the house with training shoes and actually run. And I didn't run a lot. So I ran 1 minute, then I walked for 5 minutes, ran 1 minute, run for 5 minutes, 1 minute. So I think total I did like 4 1 minute runs and 4 walks. So that is maybe like around 20 minutes, something like that. And that is good exposure therapy for my social anxiety as well, because I'm outside where I can meet people. I made it a thing that I'm not going to wear glasses or contacts. So that I just like focus on the running, and so that I don't focus on like people's expressions or whatever, because then like I won't run, you know. And also the glasses would fall off my face. Um, so it was good. I'm pretty terrible at this, but when I'm thinking of it as like a social anxiety exposure therapy, I actually have more motivation to fix that than to fix like my physical health. Ironically, as a doctor, but so I actually did do some running, but I hate getting red in the face, and look at me 2 hours later, something like that, with pink cheeks. But it went well, and I did a test on Wednesday, which was the day I met my therapist last. Where because I finally got my running shoes, that I was going to just walk outside with the running clothes on, and that was kind of nerve-wracking in itself. So I'm glad I actually did the running today. Because of my work just being all over the place right now, it's hard for me to do like a CBT, like actual timed, scheduled thing at my workplace. So that's why I'm focusing on the running aspect, because that's something I do outside of work. This week has been going better than the last one, because last week I was sleeping, like I went to bed and fell asleep. I think I had like a sore throat. And also I forgot my medication on a Monday, and so I had a great day, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I should just stop with medication entirely. This is like wonderful. And then the evening rolled by, and then I got terrible anxiety, and I went to crawl out of my skin. And I had to take a sleep medication, and then I fell asleep, and I had a terrible nightmare. But I'm going to tell you the nightmare because it's kind of a metaphor for my burnout. So I was at my workplace, and I had a patient who was dying of sepsis, basically, which doesn't happen at like my little health clinic. It happens at the hospital. And then the patient was like dying, and then like some person from, like the government came in and said one of the doctors, like, he hasn't gotten the best health care that he could have. Someone made a mistake. How could he have become septic without anybody noticing? And I realized, oh, I missed it. So I had to like hide the fact that it was me and I missed it. But then like my boss found out that it was me. And then he was like, but where does the infection come from? And so, and like all of this was happening while like the patient was basically dying on the bed, and like I had to give this person medication and stuff. Like they were in an acute room with me, my boss and this guy. And I realized, like I peeked under my shirt, like it felt wet on my like scrubs, and I looked down at my stomach and I was bleeding, and it was like rotten where my abdomen, my stomach was. It was really gross. Okay, I'm not going to be too graphic, but I realized then that I was the one who had given the infection to this patient, and I had killed the patient, and it was all my fault. And I was more scared of like what people would think of the fact that I was killing this patient, rather than the fact that, well, also I was worried that, oh, I'm a bad person because I killed this person. But that was a secondary thing. But the first is like, I was going to be judged because I was doing bad. But then I realized like, it's so ridiculous that I wasn't even realizing that I was bleeding from my own stomach. And of course I couldn't make a good decision when I was like bleeding internally, and externally. So yeah, I had that weird dream. And so then I realized, okay, I need to take my medication. I can't just give up on it, because somehow it does some good to me. I don't get these terrible, terrible nightmares. So yeah, I had to relate all that to my therapist. Anyway, now things are going much better. I did ask questions when I went to the lectures. I asked a question during a lecture with 40 people, and I asked another question, and I talked in the group work. It was a little bit awkward, but okay, that's fine. It's fine to be awkward. I talked to my therapist about that, and he said it's okay that it's awkward. That's the whole point. These things make me feel like an obnoxious person, but that's kind of the point. I'm supposed to act kind of obnoxious in order for me to say something. Okay, so it's kind of weird for me as like a conscientious being to like, go up to people and talk to them, So today I there was a woman walking on the street with her boy, and she was talking about her little boy who was like 2 years old, and she was speaking another language, but she was like listing off like car names, and she was saying, oh, Peugeot, Lamborghini, and so I just threw in like I threw in Rolls Royce, and so she laughed and she said, oh, he's little, little boys, they just love cars. And so I laughed and said, yes, that's a very nice car. And so like just doing those kinds of conversations. So I had another conversation where I was in line, and somebody asked about the pecan nut bun, and she was like, I wonder what's in there. She was saying to her friend, and I butted in and said, that is pecan nuts that's in it. And she was like, oh, that sounds good. And I was like, yeah, I would try it, but I'm trying this instead because I wanted something cold. And so just having these small conversations with strangers, random people, makes me boost confidence, In itself, maybe these are small things, but these are huge things for me, for me who never ever says anything to anybody online if I can avoid it. So I'm trying to not avoid it. And when the situation comes up, not just run away, just be in it. So I think that things are going well in that respect. I also met up with my ISFJ friend, and because I happened to be in Stockholm for another lecture day, and I actually met some people that I knew from medical school because I was at the hospital that I studied in Stockholm, so I knew some of the people who worked there, but they had no idea that I was in my town and what I was doing. So it was nice to catch up with those people. And also, I asked a question. I know, very, very daring. I asked a question in front of, I guess that we were around 60 people. I'm quite proud of myself for that. Okay. It was a pretty stupid question, but that's the point, okay? That's the point. The point, my therapist said, the point isn't to be smart. Isn't to look smart. It's to be happy, okay? It's to gain self-confidence and to realize that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I look smart or dumb. So that's a lot of good stuff. What I have been realizing, and I think that I'm going to be taking up next therapy session, is that a lot of my problems come from the fact that my parents were hoarders. My dad is a miser. He just keeps all of his money. We have a lot of money, okay? But we live as though we don't have a lot of money. We were always saving for what we rented the same place for 26 years. My parents have been renting the same place. Haven't bought anything, even though they have the money for it. They keep just accumulating things, scared of throwing things out. So that shows up in my life that I'm scared of spending money. Anything over a certain amount, I freak out. And I think like, oh, no, I can wait with this. I can wait. And like, you keep waiting for someday. And then your whole life goes by. You start wasting your life. You don't go on the holiday that you wanted to go on. You don't buy the good stuff for your home that makes things easier for you. You don't buy the nice clothes. Because, like, who cares about the parents anyway, you know? We were living way under our means, you know? We have money. My dad he's very paranoid about people coming and stealing his money. And so this video would probably freak him out because Russia's probably listening. China's probably listening. On YouTube. This is a public platform, and also my phone is probably recording this as I speak. So yeah, my parents did not give me like the tools to like do the adult stuff, because it's not just that they were overprotecting me, okay? It's that it was physically impossible to like actually do chores in a normal manner in my house. There were piles of stuff. And this level of hoarding is actually OCD. I mean, it's classified under OCD because you get like these thoughts of like accumulating stuff. And then you can't throw things away because it makes you feel guilty, you know? It's like the Annie Kondo, Mary Kondo. Sorry, I know somebody who's called Annie Kondo. Mary Kondo, who's like, you know, does this give me joy? Well, everything kind of gives you joy. And it's like, what is joy, you know? You get all these mementos and all these things. So mementos are something I think the INFPs and ENFPs like my mom, we really treasure objects that give us this feeling, that like they're part of us, even like small things that are like of no consequence, but sometimes things don't need a memento, and sometimes things, you can create anything, you can say that anything that you ever buy is a memento, and then you end up with piles of stuff in your house that block, like entire closets are blocked in my family's home. I mean, it's a safety hazard. Like if you have to run out, if there's a fire, like in the house while my parents are there, my parents will die. Like there's no question about it. It's a safety risk. Also, so like there would be stuff in front of the sink when you were going to wash dishes, like how are you going to learn to wash dishes when you can't physically put yourself in front of the sink and wash dishes? You have to like pick out the thing and do the dish on the side and put it back in and rinse and then out. I mean, like, it gets ridiculous. So it kind of resembles ADHD in that each step is more difficult because like your focus, you can't really do things right when the house is a mess. So obviously I never learned to make my bed, or like I would slightly make my bed, but thing is, when I would wake up in the morning, the bed would be used to put stuff on because there was no other place to go. And if I didn't do that, then I would have to place it on another pile and then stuff would start falling over. So I realize the more I think about it, the more crazy it is. So it's not any wonder that I did learn how to make my bed when I was living in this house, Is it any wonder that I never learned how to cook food when there wasn't any space to have a cutting board open, How could I learn to load the dishwasher when the dishwasher stops working and then you can't bring somebody in you can't bring a new dishwasher in because there's a tunnel literally of stuff, piles of stuff that you can't even bring new things in. My mom has been doing her laundry at the laundromat since a few years back because the washing machine broke and they never replaced it. Our fridge doesn't work and it can't be replaced because there's just so much stuff in the way. And my mom is working on it always, but it's too much. It's too much. And so I realized that it's not just like my parents did not prepare me for the world. It's that the fact that they created the space that was hostile to human life, like human activity. Like one of my chores was like, sorting the socks, putting socks together, But if your mom puts the socks in different areas of the house, and then they get sucked in into all of this pile of stuff, then how are you going to be able to ever find the pairs of socks? Like I would find a sock several years later, and they were like literally under a pile of other stuff. It's just overwhelming, and you can't do the simple things. Like, how are you supposed to clean the floor if the floor is covered with stuff all the time? So yes, I didn't learn how to make my bed. I didn't learn how to clean my room. I did not learn how to wash dishes in the proper manner. I didn't learn how to cook my food. No, I didn't learn anything that would have prepared me for human life. So I think that all things considered, I'm actually doing quite well with what I was given. And it might sound like I was spoiled, and yes, in certain aspects I was, because I did not have any chores. I did have chores, but it was like, I did not have a lot of chores compared to my friends. But it wasn't, in the end, it wasn't actually that I was spoiled. It was that I lived in a different sense of circumstances. And so it's not like I was spoiled, like, it wasn't like my parents were trying to make me happy or give me a better life by not. It was just that the place was inadequate. The problems that they had caused, they were trying to help me by not putting the blame on me that the house had become like this. And so it's not my parents' fault that they were mentally ill, but it did cause quite a lot of problems for me once I started to have to live alone and starting interacting with other adults and realizing that I'm pretty useless at a lot of things. So this video is getting long, but I do think that it's worth mentioning to my therapist that because what happened during the week is that my healthcare center finally sent me a letter saying, please call us, we might be able to book a time to meet a therapist. But it said in the letter that it would be internet therapy. And so I called and I said, well, I'm willing to wait if I don't need to do internet therapy. I'd rather do face-to-face, but she was like, no, we need to have a first meeting in order to decide that. Otherwise I wouldn't be put on a waiting list. So I said, okay. But then I realized I should have, it's just I'm scared on telephone calls are not my thing because of social anxiety. So I told my current therapist about this, and he said, internet therapy is not really for you. And he asked me, can you guess why? And I said, I don't have discipline, I don't have routines. And he was like, exactly. How am I going to go through an internet CBT all on my own when I have no concept of routine and of predictability, of motivation, of drive to inner motivation, So it looks like ADHD in a way, but it's a combination of being INFP and growing up with in a weird environment. But yeah, sure, I might have ADHD traits, neurodivergent stuff. But yes, my therapist was like, yeah, you need discipline, and only another person will be able to give it. He said that he'd be willing to give me a few more times. If he'll help me as long as I need before I can transfer on to the my health center. So yeah, that's why I started going thinking about the hoarding problem and all that. So I'll stop this video now. It's getting long. I do think things are going pretty well. I met up with my ISFJ friend. It was great. And we shared our medical stories and stuff. And yeah, I this video has been kind of a mess, but I'm glad I did it. Also, this is kind of a pride moment of me actually doing something new for once, something that I've been thinking about for years and years. So even if I only did it once, it was worth it, okay? Message to myself. Okay, well, have a great day, everybody. Bye.